What's up, Taiwan? I'm Jaime Ocon with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Starting off with some international news, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will travel to China this weekend in a bid to soothe strained ties between Washington and Beijing. The relationship between the two superpowers remains tense, and Taiwan is a central point of contention. James reports.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will become the first cabinet official of President Joe Biden's government to visit China when he travels to Beijing this weekend. But Blinken's trip comes as tensions between the two superpowers over Taiwan remain high.
They remain competitive with each other. However, they also are cognizant of the risks of escalation that might come out of unintended consequences or unforeseen events.
In recent months, Washington passed new legislation to provide Taiwan with $10 billion for arms sales. A top American Air Force official predicted the US will fight China over Taiwan in 2025. And rumors have swirled that new US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy could visit Taiwan in spring this year.
I don't think China can tell me where I can go at any time, at any place.
China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and condemns interactions between US and Taiwanese officials. Analysts say the aim of Blinken's trip is to stop US-China ties deteriorating any further.
They want to control the situation, not to overballoon it into tension or even full-out military threats or activities.
Taiwan says it will be monitoring the talks.
外交部对于美中的会晤所以我们会持续与美方保持密切联系，随时掌握。
But China's leadership is facing domestic pressure. Beijing is trying to restore public faith after nationwide protests against COVID-0 restrictions and a whipsaw relaxation of the policy that saw over 900 million people infected with the virus. With instability at home, Beijing has stepped up engagement with overseas partners. But on core issues like Taiwan, the US and China remain at loggerheads, and so expectations for Blinken's visit are low.
There's some attempt, right, to adjust behavior to moderate risk. However, fundamentally, the differences between the US and China remain.
The starting point for Blinken in Beijing will be low. While all communication is positive, trust between the two sides has been eroded over recent months. But Washington and Beijing know it's in both their interests and the interest of Taiwan to keep this relationship under control. Howard Zhang and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
In related news, U.S. officials are tracking a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon traveling through airspace above the continental United States. The Pentagon on Thursday said it has been monitoring the balloon for several days. Officials say they are certain that the device belongs to China. The U.S. says the balloon's intelligence gathering capabilities are limited. It is also flying high enough to not present a danger to regular air traffic. But flights from the airport in Billings, Montana were grounded for around 2 hours on Wednesday as the balloon flew overhead. The military mobilized aircraft and debated whether to shoot down the device. Here in Taiwan, people will have to keep their face masks on indoors for a little while longer. New rules lifting the country's indoor mask mandate were supposed to be announced this week, but the Pandemic Response Task Force has delayed them. A recent spike in COVID cases and deaths is behind the decision. 74 people died from the virus on Thursday, the highest single-day figure in 2.5 months. The number of available hospital beds is also very low after a recent cold snap. And officials say organizations like schools need more time to prepare for the changes. Police have busted a money counterfeiting ring in New Taipei, seizing fake banknotes worth millions of US dollars. As Jean Ventres reports, it's just the latest in a crackdown aimed at taking down fake money operations across Taiwan.
Over $4 million in fake money and 6 arrests. That's the final haul in a police investigation that led from one end of Taiwan to the other. Fake banknotes just like these have been popping up across the country in recent weeks. It's taken police 18 searches to get to their source, a shop selling magic supplies. Using their mastery of illusion, the shop's owner and staff churned out hundreds of thousands of real-looking bills, selling them for around 3 US cents apiece. Some buyers resold them for even more.
它的供应商是在新北跟北部地区， 那专案小组人员同一天马上就从高雄再直接到北部跟新北地区。
Police say the 6 suspects could be charged under the Penal Act of offenses against national currency. The law mandates at least 5 years in prison for money forgers. Police are also warning workers in the service sector to be careful when accepting money.
那目前我们警方查获的这些案件，它大部分都是集团性的。我觉得像一般的夜市摊商或零售业者、槟榔摊要特别注意，在夜市里面可能比较混乱，它比较会疏忽到。
But despite the crackdown, fake money keeps appearing in Taiwan. Police caught 41 people in 36 cases last year. Authorities say it's important for people to carefully check watermarks and other security features to avoid falling victim to counterfeiters. Ethan Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's top policy planning agency is optimistic over the country's economic growth this year. The National Development Council says GDP growth could beat the official forecast of 2.75%. It says this will depend on whether economic recoveries in the US, Europe, and China will continue. The council also expects Taiwan's economy to stabilize in the second half of the year. The 2023 Taipei Game Show opened to the public on Thursday. It's one of the biggest shows of its kind in Asia. Leslie Liao was there to take a closer look.
The name of the game is, well, games. It could be board games, cell phone games, computer games, console games, indie games, big AAA release, well, games. It's all here at the 2023 Taipei Game Show. Now, developers big and small have come here to Taipei Nangang Exhibition Center to show everybody what they've got.
275 vendors from 25 countries in 1,150 booths. That's what you can find at this year's event, running from February 2nd to February 5th. Industry heavyweights like Microsoft and Nintendo are here. But if you're into more niche stuff, you're good too. Asia's largest indie game festival, Indie House, has teamed up with Taipei Game Show to showcase over 100 independent games here. This year's Taipei Games Show is the first to take place since Taiwan lifted its COVID-related travel restrictions. That means people from all over the world can come, and they're here from places like...
And I'm from Austria.
And I'm from Latvia.
I'm from Italy.
This year's event is immersive, with scenery straight out of video games and people cosplaying as popular game characters. So it's not so much a show as it is an experience, and people are having a great time.
I think it's really cool, and I see energy here, and people here are really cool, and I really love it.
Like, they got cosplayers, they got streamers, and got broadcasters all here. So this is the reason why I'm here.
Well, this is the first time it feels like it's the actual Taipei Game Show. I think like last year or the year before, it was kind of dead. It was very small, very quiet. Like the big people weren't here, like Nintendo wasn't here, Sony wasn't here. And this year, everyone's back, but everyone's wearing masks, so it feels like we're kind of there, but not there.
One of the perks of coming to the Taipei Games Show is that people can play video games that haven't even been released yet. There are also tournaments and all sorts of freebies people can take home. And even if video games aren't your thing, the event also features board and card games.
This exhibition center will be absolutely bumping for the next 3 days. Now, pandemic restrictions prevented people and businesses from attending in the past few shows, but there's none of that this year. So this year, it's all about games, 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 and the people who play them. Ethan Sun and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we leave you with the images of cherry blossoms on Yangmingshan in the north of Taiwan. I'm Jaime Ocon. Take care and see you next time.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Okay. For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, please make sure to download the TaiwanPlus app.